The Gacha Life community has come a long way. From being ridiculed for its controversial creators, it has grown into a vibrant creative space, full of passionate fans who love designing characters and telling stories. Among these fans, one project stood out: ChibiMation. ChibiMation wasn't just another gacha mod, it was a large-scale, community-driven project with the goal of becoming a fully standalone game, inspired by Gacha Life. The concept came together under Pixel Dream Labs, with key figures like Beowulf, a popular gacha tuber, and Femlol Studio, the developer behind popular gacha mods like Gacha Animator. Together, with their skills and experience, they envisioned an app that went beyond modding limitations, promising a multi-platform experience on iOS, Android, and PC, complete with over 10,000 assets, advanced customization options, and even the ability to import your own outfits, backgrounds, and accessories. For many, ChibiMation symbolized the next evolution of the gacha genre, a game that was by the community for the community. However, it is now almost 4 years later, and a lackluster amount of progress has been made. New side projects have been announced, but no actual tangible game, despite its countless deadlines and large community funding.
You can even donate to it to gain access to the beta. So of course I did that, and where's the game?
The truth is, ChibiMation is going through a lot of mishandling, the type that strikes an eerily similar resemblance to Yandere Simulator, another game that had the same amount of community backing, volunteering, and exposure, but lackluster development. So today, we're going to take a detailed look at the origins of the project, the controversies, and what lessons both fans and developers can learn from its long, turbulent journey. Please note, this video is not an attack on the team, or anyone involved. It is simply meant to bring awareness considering a significant amount of crowdfunded money is involved. I will be sampling my information from both official sources and community discussions. If there is anything I misrepresented here, please feel free to reach out on my Discord. With that out of the way, let's begin. While the exact starting point of ChibiMations can be debated, we can see early concept stages of it through Beowulf's Gacha shop, and eventually Gacha Designer. The community was thrilled to see what Beo was up to. Eventually, a Discord was created where Beo posted frequent updates on the development, and soon, Gacha Designer was turned into ChibiMations. Things during this period were looking great, with a release date for the game confirmed to be April 2024, until it was later changed for 2025, once issues started to arise. Now, running into problems is natural for indie projects. Many of you don't know this, but I actually go to university for games design. So trust me, I understand development hell. But the problems the team faced didn't seem to be technical. One of the most significant challenges ChibiMation faced is its chronic developer turnover. Initially, ChibiMations was spearheaded by Beowulf. Beowulf's involvement lent credibility to the project, and generated considerable excitement among fans with their insightful videos. However, recently this year, after hiatuses and postponed progress, Beowulf announced their departure from the project, citing personal reasons and a desire to focus on other endeavors. In the FAQ the team released, we find out that, quote, Beo, who is responsible for the entire team's operation, has been facing health issues, and when concerns about poor communication and unprofessionalism were raised by the public and team, they ultimately decided to step down as director and pass the role on to other staff, who are more active and available to work on ChibiMation. Coming from a game development perspective, the lack of communication is worrying. Because as soon as money is involved, your entire project starts to bleed it. You need to make quick strides in progress before the funds dry up. And as for why the decision to confront Beo was delayed, is because, quote, it took the team time not only to piece all the information together, but to gather up courage to confront Beo. This was done as soon as possible, as the damage had already been done and was negatively affecting the team's morale and reputation. We had hope and faith that issues with developers and Beo's health hiatuses would not hinder our progress, and we would reach the final goal eventually. But recently, it was agreed upon that not taking action would only make the situation worse, and possibly hurt the game's chances of being released at all. Fearing your manager is a human but irresponsible thing. I am not knowledgeable on the inner conflicts between the team, so all I have to say is, I hope Beo's health takes a turn for the better. I understand how scary, sudden, and damaging being unwell can be, And while I don't think it was responsible to lead his team on for years, I'm not exactly expecting great communication from this project anymore. Hi guys, Angel here. A document was just dropped regarding Bayo and their situation, and I'm just gonna quickly read it out for you so you guys have an understanding of exactly why Bayo was removed, and it also sheds even more light on the fact that this project was absolutely horribly ran, and Bayo really did mismanage this. They fumbled the bag, I'm just gonna say it. This is also not scripted, so please have mercy on me, and I also just woke up, so I'm just gonna read this out. Let's get to it. So the TLDR is that Bayo was removed because they hastily removed a member of management without discussion. They used generative AI in important messages. So think like interview questions, like scripts, all that kind of stuff. Unpaid funds to server managers and a team member. I'm gonna show some screenshots from the video that came out, or even just clips in general of them discussing this. And quite frankly, it's disgusting if you just take a look.
This section of the video will not cover the Ko-fi, and it was already mentioned in the previous video. However, a lot happened behind the scenes where it came to money and paying team members, either for their duties or helping one in need. There was a time where it was mentioned that server managers will be paid for their services within the ChibiMation Discord server. Now directors Ashton and Bulletsu, along with co-director Vri, all attested that those payments never happened, or that they had to constantly remind Bayo to receive their payments. And even then, Bayo did not keep track on who was doing what for how long. In short, server managers were not paid for years. But if you thought that was bad in itself, wait until you hear the story. On January 10th, 2025, a GoFundMe organized by Bayo was hoping to help an asset designer struggling to buy daily necessities. With the help of the community, over $1,200 were raised, and within a couple of hours, a full batch of groceries costing around $150 was delivered at the designer's doorsteps. But after that, no one, including who the money was meant for, heard of the remaining $1,000 until the shift in management. Only then were the remaining funds of the GoFundMe sent out to the designer. It took more than 7 months for that person to receive the money donated to them from Bayo. 7 months.
I can't believe that they had basically just team members unpaid. It just makes me wonder where the money went. Even more. Long absences without warning, leaving management to handle everything, keeping a moderator despite knowing they're underage, and avoidance of public statements despite promising them. So basically, TLDR, Bayo was extremely irresponsible. It's just not good. I'm glad that there's a new management taking over, but I don't know, it's really left a sour taste in my mouth looking at this, and I think a lot of this sourness comes from the fact that the screenshots really do, I don't know, it just paints Bayo as a not very... I just don't think I like Bayo. Okay, onto the video. But please do take a look at this document, I highly recommend it. This was not the first time the team faced issues with developers. As in October 2024, Femlol, one of the main programmers, was dismissed due to allegations of inappropriate behavior. Femlol was seen being homophobic in the Discord, stating that he wanted to hide queer assets in the game while also using the R slur, stating it's just a cultural difference, and that it was okay if he used it. If you think that's bad, he was also sexist, using gross rhetoric that boys will be boys in response to a really unfunny clip.
Do you know any good jokes?
Gender equality.
Oh.
But honestly, the worst part was that Femlol spoke inappropriately to a minor who helped out in the server, eventually taking the conversation into DMs and requesting illicit pictures from them. The victim was 16 and he was 20 at the time. These actions not only led to his removal, but also caused a lot of anxiety for the community, because he was one of the main coders, which is apparently useless anyway, because it was found out later that Femlol barely contributed anything to the game's code.
Allegations aside, why would you keep a developer who finished less than 20% of the game? Like, do you guys not have, you need to have a timeline. When you're making a game, you need to have a timeline, right?
Unfortunately, Femlol wasn't the only developer that failed the project. In November 2024, ChibiMation introduced a new developer known as Dare, or Dare, or whatever. The announcement came swiftly after the departure of Femlol, and the move was initially perceived as a hopeful step towards strengthening the project's momentum. Unfortunately, Dare had also been removed from the team, this time reportedly due to poor communication and low effort. This revolving door of developers, first Femlol then Dare, represented a deeper problem. The team lacked stable, accountable developers and clear workflows. Speaking of funding, there was also an issue with that. Funding transparency, or the lack of it, added even more fuel to the already growing fire. The ChibiMation's Ko-Fi page publicly displayed how donation funds were split: 60% for new tools and apps, 17% for server management, and, most controversially, 23% allocated to staff raffles. Seeing staff raffles as a budget line while the game itself missed every public milestone didn't sit well with the community. And to be honest, even now I'm still unable to understand how this was allowed. Yes, the Discord is large. It has over 51,000 people as of recording, but I've been in communities far larger than that, and they run perfectly well without raffles or even staff wages. And while there's no hard evidence of outright financial misuse, and I don't want to ever allude to that, the optics were terrible and eroded public trust even further. Combined with the fact that the website displayed download buttons for iOS and PC versions that didn't actually exist, fans felt like they were being misled, whether intentionally or through poor planning. Some voices in the community began raising serious concerns about the project's feasibility. One prominent critic was GadgetTuber Soy, who repeatedly questioned whether the ambitious plans were realistic. Soy highlighted technical issues, such as the decision to make all of the thousands of assets in PNG format, pointing out that this approach would cause major problems with performance and lag, especially on mobile devices.
Check the base and it's currently 1383 by 2346, which is bad because the standard screen is 1920 by 1080p since it's a horizontal game. To have it be even less blurry, the file size needs to be at least 1920 by 1080p to fit the whole screen, but when you want to follow the character tutorial above, you need to have a file size doubled. This is just a rough estimation. Now, why can't they just do that? If they do that, the size of the game will be so big that it might not support some devices, mostly the lower end stuff. Remember, ChibiMation plans to have more than 10,000 assets, but these are assets that are split up, meaning there'll be line art, base color, second base color, highlight, etc., which means this can shoot up to over 40k assets as of 2025, and still counting.
These warnings resonated with parts of the fanbase, sparking debates in comment sections about whether ChibiMation's developmental team was overexerting itself. What's happening with ChibiMation isn't new. If you've been in the online gaming communities long enough, you know that Yandere Simulator became a textbook example of how overambition, lack of structure, and poor communication can destroy a game. Years later, the game remains unfinished. It is more like a collection of prototypes and tech demos than a polished product. ChibiMation's trajectory is alarmingly similar. Both projects promised huge, feature-rich games that catered towards passionate fanbases, and both projects relied heavily on community donations while providing very little transparency about the progress or realistic timelines. By early 2025, it became clear that the standalone ChibiMation app was far from completion. In response, the team announced the development of a Roblox spin-off called ChibiHigh.
Is coming to Roblox. And yes, we're starting with a whole dang school. Welcome to ChibiHigh. Dress your character up with literally over 5,000 accessories. New stuff added all the time. In the alpha, you'll get dorms, an ice cream shop to work in, 8 classes to attend or dramatically skip, and a tree so big you can probably see it from space. ChibiHigh is cute, chaotic, and very much just getting started. Follow for updates, sneak peeks, and extremely important polls about roof colors and ice cream flavors.
In essence, it's just a Royal High Gacha Life ripoff. The stated purpose of ChibiHigh was to deliver partial functions of ChibiMation, while generating revenue and maintaining community engagement during the stalled development of the main app. While the pivot was framed as a pragmatic move, it sparked even more frustrations among fans. Many saw it as a distraction from the original promise, raising questions about the team's priorities and whether the main app would ever materialize. Some asked why it can't be developed alongside ChibiMations, and they responded saying, quote, "To make ChibiMations, we need a developer, brackets coding, team, but unfortunately this job is expensive to hire, and we don't want to take chances with indie developers due to past events." The donation fund was supposed to fundraise for a dev team, but we don't have enough money after several failed devs. Thus, we decided to collaborate with Object to work on ChibiHigh in order to get extra funding needed for ChibiMation's development fund. Without ChibiHigh, we would have no chance of ever getting the funding we need, and thus the project would be cancelled. The Roblox spin-off was heavily promoted on social media, with a promised launch in June 2025. But as of September 2025, the date of this video, there has been no game. I, along with many other members of the community, share frustrations with this idea. Because for one, the project was never promised a Roblox game. Fans had supported ChibiMation, donated money to ChibiMation, under the expectation of a standalone PC, Android, and iOS app. ChibiHigh was also limited in scope and tied to a platform that not all fans used or trusted. And for good reason. Roblox has found itself in the middle of many safety issues. Their response in the FAQ addressing these concerns was, quote, "We have taken precautions specifically with ChibiHigh as of now for game access. There are multiple steps to be taken in order to join the beta itself. ChibiHigh does currently have a beta that is playable, but it is in the very early stages of development. The beta, at this time, includes mainly trying on assets and helping us determine if there are any bugs to be seen. We are now at the point where the ChibiMation team has released an important announcement video, directly addressing the community about the state of the project. In it, GachaTuber Flotalendi acknowledged the delays and setbacks that have plagued the development. They openly discussed team restructuring and promised to take concrete steps towards completing the game. While the video reflects a level of transparency that the community has been craving, it also shows just how far behind the project is, and how much work still remains. The issue of money was also addressed briefly at the end of the video, where a screenshot was shared that broke down how the $10,000 donation was used. Now, I want to keep this video as unbiased as I possibly can. I am not here to ridicule or throw accusations around. However, in good conscience, I simply cannot help but voice my concerns over the management of the funds. The team at ChibiMations are currently at a point where they need even more money to pay for their coders. However, over half of the funds was spent on technical devices, as in iPads, styluses, and quote-unquote random things like a free pick subscription for backgrounds. Mind you, the section where they state random things is 2.5k. And last time I checked, coders don't take phones in payments. I can look over the licensing things, because I'm not fully educated on that topic, but this is not a good look. You cannot still be so willfully vague when it comes to discussing over £10,000 in donations. Money that isn't yours. Normally, when hiring someone, it is under the assumption that the worker already has the skills and equipment needed for the job. So tell me, why are the funds that are supposed to be used to pay someone's wage being used to supply them with a tablet? What if the artist backs out of the project? Will they sell the tablet and return the money to the team? I don't think so. Let's use an example for the point I'm trying to make. When I needed to hire a musician for the game I was working on, it was not up to me or my team to supply the musician with a PC, or even a subscription for music producing software. The person I hired already had it, and all I was doing was commissioning them to use it. This is industry standard behavior. If I am wrong with this analysis, again, I implore you to reach out and correct any mistakes I have made, because I am genuinely holding out for hope that this is just another case of mismanagement. I know the team behind ChibiMations aren't bad people and are a well-intended group that are simply struggling with organization. However, the people who have donated money deserve to see a bank statement of every single transaction made. It is the least you could do to ease their fears, not a vague list that just doesn't add up. As we wrap this video up, it is worth asking, how could ChibiMations have done things differently? And how could similar projects avoid the same pitfalls? First, setting a realistic scope is crucial. Promising thousands of assets, multi-platform support, and complex animation tools all at once created expectations that were almost impossible to meet. If you need an example, look at Undertale. Undertale was Toby Fox's first large-scale project. He set his goals realistically, was open to backers, and delivered an amazing experience that is celebrated to this day. Mind you, this is only one person, and Undertale wasn't even his dream game. His dream game was Deltarune, the project he started once he was experienced, well-funded, and confident that he could deliver. Secondly, transparency. Vague updates and shifting promises erode community confidence faster than any technical issue. Trust me, I have waited far longer for games than I have for ChibiMation. Nobody is upset that it takes time. We're upset over the lack of communication. Finally, funding transparency and prioritization matters. Showing the community that donations directly support tangible game progress rather than ambiguous categories like staff raffles would build trust rather than suspicion. If ChibiMation or any ambitious fan-driven project follows these principles, it could still recover from the lost momentum. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the ChibiMation team themselves. Despite the delays, the challenges, and the frustrations from the community, it is clear that a lot of passion and effort has gone into this game. Building something as ambitious as ChibiMation from scratch with thousands of assets is no small feat. To the team, I want to say thank you for your dedication, and I genuinely hope that you can overcome these obstacles and stabilize your development progress. The road has been rocky, but with focus, there's still potential to turn this ambitious dream into a game that the community can truly enjoy. Thank you for watching.